Whilst I've been absolutely loving discovering the Cotton shoot 'em up series through the various different ports from a couple of developers over to PC and console, I took a dive into other games that City Connection have been porting over as part of their Saturn Tribute series. One that's really taken my fancy is Guardian Force. It's an auto-scrolling shoot 'em up, but it comes with an 8-axis turret on top of your ship. And what this means is that instead of having a traditional vertical or horizontal shoot 'em up where you're shooting forward and up the screen or to the left or right, you've got 8 axes that you can spin your turret around using, quite frankly, really weird default controls with the shoulder buttons to do all of this. I fully recommend remapping them. But you can spin this turret around and try and take out all of the different enemies coming from you around all the different sides of the screen. Because Guardian Force really leans into it can come from any direction because you can shoot from any direction. And sometimes I kept forgetting, particularly when I got into boss battles, that I could spin my turret around and I'd end up pinned in a corner of the screen, forgetting that I could still fire 10 barrels of plop at the boss and try and survive for a little bit longer. I love shoot 'em up games, but I'm the first to admit I am atrocious at these. So a lot of the gameplay that you'll be seeing here is going to be on the easier end of the difficulty scale, but this game does really start to pile on that coming from every angle and having to really think about your turret as you move up the difficulty levels. Your turret can be swapped out for various different weapons that will come out of it, anything from missiles and machine guns to a weird cute little yo-yo that flies around. And then you can also upgrade the actual turret itself by collecting crystals from those that you kill from enemies, and also finding little pots of gold type things kicking about on the screen too. Alongside that, you can also get side weapons, which act much more traditionally like a vertical shoot 'em up because they will just shoot straight ahead of you. And what I would say is that because with some games, when you die, you might as well just restart the level or just go and give up. Guardian Force is very generous in the way how it dishes out power-ups and upgrades. So if you do find yourself dying and thinking, no, don't despair or panic. You can get yourself back to a level of competency quite quickly because you level up everything all the way up to, I think it's level 10 for each of the different weapons that you've got. And if you do crash and burn, you can rebuild your weapons relatively quickly. You've also got access to bombs too, and that's quite handy because when it gets to boss battles and things like that, they're all timed and that affects your score. So you're encouraged to go in very aggressive and try and clear out things as quickly as possible. And so keeping the level up of your weapon alongside using bombs tactically and making sure that you're rotating your turret and and kind of constantly dealing damage no matter where you are on the screen is really the key to getting high scores on this game. I really enjoyed Guardian Force, and the emulation that City Connection has brought along under what's called the Zebra engine brings a few nice additional features. You've got a rewind feature, so if you do bugger something up, you can go back and have another go at it. There's also a slow mode, which just basically feels like the game's chugging under frame rate problems. And there is a quick save mode, so if you get to a certain point and you want to kind of go back and be like, nope, I'll do this level again, then you can do that too. Online ranking mode is available for each mode as well. And when I talk about modes, that's because it also comes with a shared co-op 2-player version where you get to play as a tank as player 2, which is quite a cool additional extra. With Guardian Force, the emulation though does run into a couple of issues, and it would be remiss of me not to mention the fact that there is some graphical slowdown when things get very, very busy in this game, particularly on harder difficulties. And I did notice there was some input lag when things get particularly busy on the screen. That isn't a problem early on in the game, but if you're going up the difficulties or if you're really trying to perfect those meandering mazes of bullet hell carnage that you get in the later on bosses in this game, you are going to struggle to get absolute perfection, and you will feel that the input lag is probably putting you at a severe disadvantage if you're looking for arcade perfection. For me, because I don't own a Sega Saturn, it's one of the few consoles I don't own, I hadn't discovered or played Guardian Force beforehand, so I don't know any different. So once you get used to the fact that there's going to be some input lag, you start to preempt your controls in advance and you start to play like that. But I fully appreciate that if you've got the original Guardian Force but you're looking to play this on modern consoles, for example, or modern PC, that this is an inferior to the original product despite having all of those additional online rankings and everything else that's going on, because you've got that input delay if that's not part of the original experience. So just be aware going in that this is a solid port, but it's not a perfect port, and there is going to be some technical lags and slowdowns still occurring in patches across this game, and it's always in the patches where you need it to perform perfectly most. So that to one side, Guardian Force, exceptional shoot 'em up, 2 thumbs up from me. Just manage your expectations with this port because it is a little bit rough around the edges. On a slightly separate note, I am having absolute great fun discovering retro shoot 'em ups that I didn't get to play in the 90s and early 2000s. So I've got a few others being imported in from Japan for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 that I'm looking to get my grubby little mitts on, and there'll be reviews of those coming up soon, and I hope they'll be just as fun and just as enticing and engrossing as I found Guardian Force, because this is a big gleeful thumbs up from me. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.